All right, give me 1 second here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 45 of my GEMP game review series. I am your host, Chris Gogolin. Thank you for joining us this evening. I do see that there is an OCS game going on right now, so we'll take a quick peek at this one before we jump into some of our regularly scheduled programming. Looks like we got a game going on here between Polymers and Mingtown. Let's see if we can pick this one up midway through. All right, so Polymers is playing Bring Him Before Me. This may be the Skulls version. He's definitely got the First Order stuff. Um, if you're not familiar with this version, this is the deck that plays like 6 or 7 copies of Lieutenant Mataka. And then with Hux out, he's Destiny 7. So you just put him out of play from your lost pile. See if he's in there. Yep, he's out of play. So you put him out of play with a copy of a card called Skull, which is a used 5 interrupt, and that adds the destiny number of the character to your total power. So you just drop Vader and a guy or EPP Maul or something, use Skull to put some into play, and then you're like, oh, I've got 14 power with my lone Darth Maul. And then you use Emperor's power to add a battle destiny, or I have you now or something like that to add a battle destiny or two. And your lone characters like 14 power plus 3 or 4 battle destiny, and you can do some really good beatdowns from that. And Mingtown here is using, looks like a conventional throne room deck. He does have evac control going for him, which is a good way to avoid some of that beatdown damage by limiting them to just 1 battle destiny. You've been watching the game, Sean. It is the Skulls version. Okay, yeah, kind of what I figured. Obviously, with Mataka out of play, that seemed likely. Obviously, he could be out of play from like an out of commission or something, but you never know. Now, did this game just like freeze up, or what's going on here? They're both trying to tune into the live stream of the show to see what I say about their game. Thank you everybody for joining us for episode 45 here. We do have a few things that we will cover later this evening, including talking about the March OCS. Oh, looks like Ming's just going to throw in the towel. And Polymers is going to pick up the win here. Doesn't look like maybe he's got a whole lot else left going on for himself. Obviously, one of these guys is going to get hit with a weapon. Solo's game text is canceled, so if he was relying on Solo being able to pull, something like a keep your eyes open. Looks like they might have missed something here. He deployed Solo, and then I guess just gave up. Maybe we missed something here. All right, well, congratulations to Polymers for picking up the win there. And let's go back out to the lobby then. Okay, so there's no other games going on right now, just some casual games. So then let's dive into our usual topics. Let's look at the standings from March, final standings, and drum roll. Ryan Surson and Chris Werfs are your 2 qualifiers for March. They both went 11-1. Congratulations to both of them. A number of good players here went 10-2, and Silverglen was 10-0, but did not have time to get his last 2 games in. There was a live event in his region in the UK on Saturday, which I believe he won. Had about 11 or 12 players there. That's at Darth Huge's bowling alley, which also has a private party room where they play their major events at. That certainly would be an event that sounds like it'd be a heck of a lot of fun. Apparently, they did a Friday night bowling tournament and then had the Star Wars tournament on Saturday. So that seems like a good time. If you're thinking about like maybe traveling to Europe for an event, that might be a good one to I might have to look into that one instead. Maybe I can't make Euro Worlds, but maybe I can take the wife to England and Wales next year. So, but yes, but and then Mother's Day in the UK was last Sunday, March 31st. They celebrate at a different time than we do here in America. So between playing all day Saturday at the real life Star Wars tournament and then spending all day Sunday with his wife, who is the mother of his children, and possibly, I think, currently pregnant as well, um, or may have just had a baby recently. I know that was an issue for him last year with scheduling his games, was his wife being pregnant. So for the OCS playoffs, so I'm not sure where that currently stands. But Silverland did not have time to get those last two games in, and fortunately, we'll have to finish in seventh. And some other players, obviously, rounded out the field. Nobody else really was in position to make a run for it. Um, just didn't have time to get the rest of their games in other than Silver Glen. And April has already begun. Here we are on April 1st, April Fool's Day, if you will, but I'm kind of too old for April Fool's Day pranks. They're fun when you're like 12 or 22, but after that, then they're just kind of like, they're not even funny anymore. And the stuff people pull half the time never wasn't even going to be funny to begin with. So April's underway. And yeah, looks like we got Gavin at 2-0, but only a handful of people have actually played a game yet. So this certainly, for the first day, that's not bad for a good start. There's been like 10 games played already, and obviously we'll see how things shape up throughout the rest of the evening. But if you're interested in joining the OCS, you can jump into the forums here and find out details about that. There is still the $10 monthly subscription, where you just pay $10 a month and you join the monthly event. There is also a poll up that I want to make sure that everybody saw. One of the things that the rules recently were changed on was in terms of allowing scheduling of games. The rule was changed to try and prevent people from scheduling games against their friends to try and, build somebody up with the number of wins to help them qualify for the playoffs. They probably could be broken down as two separate rules, as you can schedule games, you just can't throw games to intentionally lose them to your friend. Intentionally losing games is a lot harder to prove, so the tournament committee took a much more strict approach, which was if you can't even schedule them against your friends, then you can't really throw them to them either. It's a lot harder to do. But feedback so far from the community has been kind of mixed, so we decided that before we considered changing the rule back or making any additional adjustments to it, we'd throw up a poll and see how people seem to care about it and which way they fall. Right now, there's 43 people who have voted. 7 don't care either way. 14 of them think it should stay the way it is, which you can't schedule any games at all. And 22 people have voted that they think they should be allowed to schedule games against whoever they want, whenever they want. So, let's see what we got going on here in the chat. Oh, good evening, everybody. Oh, a little plug for the Kubla Khan for Star Wars Day in San Francisco. Oh, just a San Francisco event. That's not the Kubla Khan run. But yeah, NorCal always has some events going on. And as long as we're talking about events and things like that. But we talked about the OCS, so obviously make sure you vote in the poll. If you play in the OCS, which 90 of you do, and most of the people who watch my show are OCS participants. There's also an interesting thread here about some of the GEMP bugs and whether or not those should be considered game cancels or not. Please pay attention to that as well. If it is a pretty serious bug, like the one that's popped up again with Agents of the Black Sun, that's why the game cancel feature was not disabled for OCS games. If it's a substantial bug like that, you and your opponent should just cancel the game. That's what that's there for. That's not there for, hey, I loaded the wrong deck. Do you mind if I switch? Or, I really don't have time to play right now. Maybe we could finish this or try to play again another time. That's not what the cancel's there for. The cancel's there for things like that are currently going on with the Black Sun deck, where it suddenly has stopped recognizing bounty hunters as Black Sun agents, which is 2/3 of the character pool. So, and it doesn't even do it like right away. It'll be like turn 3 or 4 and everything's going fine, and then it's just like, yeah, we just stopped. So you start the game and you're like, oh, things seem like they're going okay. Maybe things will be all right. And then you get, a few turns in, or I mean, Batmouse made it all the way to turn 8 in his Gem PC matchup with Chris Worfs the other night. And it was a turn 8, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, these guys aren't Black Sun agents anymore, so you can't deploy anybody. And Coruscant V doesn't recognize them, so now it's not a battleground system. And obviously that completely influences the game. And when you're that far into it, it can really screw things up. But, you know, don't try and just take the cheap win, and be like, oh, well, it's sorry, that's your fault for playing a broken card. You don't know the card is always broken and things like that. Sometimes this stuff happens. That was the first time this thing has happened in 6-7 months. So it was an old bug. It fixed itself, or was fixed, last summer before Worlds and everything like that, and suddenly mysteriously has crept back up again. So there is, that's why that game cancel button is there, and that's specifically what it should be used for, and probably only what it should be used for. But if you go into the resource section here, there's a subforum for GEMP Bugs. You can see the list of little things that are going on. Like, some of them are simple, like, oh, he's not considered a matching pilot, or Thrawn doesn't quite show up as Thrawn, or this is always an interesting one. When you're pod racing and you stack R2 and Red 5 on it, even if you pick 7 for his destiny number, it still defaults it to 0 when it's stacked on a pod racer for some reason. It'll say 7 in the chat log, but then it'll still stack it as a 0 on the pod racer. So that's a glitch. That's not quite working right. And that would be a major glitch. That kind of influences the game a little bit when you have 2 or 3 and R2 and Red 5 stacked, and your total should be 21, and your total's reading as 0. Obviously, it's going to take you more turns to win the pod race now, and that's the kind of thing that you would cancel a game for. And this Black Sun not recognizing bounty hunters is the thing you should cancel a game for. But here's the forums here, and then obviously as things get resolved, they get moved to this sub-thread. So something you should just keep an eye on, keep yourself aware of, and hopefully they do get resolved. The GEMP team continues to look at this forum, but there's 4 or 5 guys. They are volunteers. They're not master programmers or coders, um, so this is a thing that is just a work in progress by a handful of volunteers. In a perfect world, we'd have paid people working on it 100% of the time, doing server restarts and all kinds of stuff. But we all have day jobs, and we make it the best that we can. The other big live event that we'll talk about real quick is the Match Play Championship. You've got about 4 hours or so left if you want to sign up to play in this event. It is in New Jersey, April 26th through the 28th. We're up to 49 players. Today is the final day for registration. And we'll take a quick peek at the MPC sign-up list. Once the list is finalized, there's 2 guys. There's Christopher Angulo here, Chris Angulo, signed up and paid $150 for him and 2 of his friends. He hasn't given me the names yet of his friends. I messaged him, haven't heard back from him yet. Hopefully he'll get that to me today. We can get this updated. And then, of course, once the list has been completed, if you guys think of yourselves as bracket makers or whatnot, feel free to send myself, Greg Shaw, Bill Kafer, your rankings. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that little Hollow Theater episode we did with Queso last week. We did our nice little interviews with him and talked about a little bit about the history of the tournament and whatnot. That's still up on the Twitch page. If you just go to videos, you can see that highlight from last week. But you can certainly take your hand at seeding, even if you want to just seed, the top handful of people that you're familiar with. If you happen to know some of the people else on the list that may not be household names just yet, and you think you want to give some input as to where you think they should be, feel free to send us your opinions. It never hurts to have extra information for us to use as we see fit. But registration for that tournament will close tonight, and then we'll start working on the brackets over the next week or so, and try and get those posted by middle of next week. That way everybody gets at least 2 weeks or so to prepare for the tournament, and then everybody can do their predictions and all that kind of stuff, and we'll see how this all shapes out. But All the details for the event can still be found right here on the forums, and it should be one heck of a good time. We're up to 49 players now. 52 would be great if we can squeeze 3 more in the next few hours, because then we only have to give out buys to the top 3, top 12. Yeah, top 3 seeds in each bracket then would get buys, and then you're looking at 4 through 13 playing matches, which are usually some of your more competitive games and where you might see some of the more likely upsets. A couple threes have lost in the past. 2 is really rare, and I don't think we ever had a 1 seed lose yet, but always something to, that could happen. You never know what year it's going to be. The other thing, of course, that I wanted to discuss is our donation system. We thank all you guys for continuing to follow us on Twitch and your monthly subscriptions and things like that. The other way, of course, you can support the PC directly is financially, and here's all the information here. This opened back in November of 2018, and there are different tiers that have different prizes. We're going to start working on getting some of these printed up and ready to ship out for the people who have already made their donations. Most people seem to fall into the $50 or $100 donation range, which is the minimum you have to donate in order to get the foil version of the exclusive AI donor card, which I happen to have right here, which I just thought I would share. And thanks to Killer Kiwi, I will remember to make my camera bigger while I do this. So the 2019 AI donation foil is Rogue One. This is an alternate image version of Rogue One. I should pick a darker background so there's less glare coming off my monitor. All right, so let's do that. And maybe you guys can see it a little better. There you go. So we got alternate image, Rogue One. That is the AI foil for the 2019 donor program, which you need to donate at least $50 to get it, the foil version of the card. You also get other things like discounts at major events and other stuff like that. If you get into some of the higher tiers, you get a tote bag there. This one, at $350, you get a main character design. Just want to design a new version of your favorite main character from the movies. Vader, Luke, Padme. I don't know. Padme's not really a main, but she could be. So let's shrink me back down here to normal size. And then when you get into the higher tiers here, you $600, you actually get to appear on the card. So if you do a cosplay or anything like that, like, I don't know, say Tom Hade, who's really into it, and you donate this amount, then you can get your picture, your cosplay appearance, and you in the character, whatever that you're trying to do, or do the V-card design for, would be featured on the card. So if you want to do something like, a new version of Poe Dameron, and you dress up like Poe, and then there you go. So all that information can be found here, and of course I did want to show off the foil slip. Anyone coming to the Match Play Championship, I will have those foils to hand out to you at the tournament. So if you are planning on coming and you're thinking about donating, you might want to do that in the next 3 weeks before the tournament, in which case then you'll probably end up getting a $5 discount or refund to your entry fee. We must have donated before the event date, so you can get the $5 refund for that event because you'll have donated before the event actually takes place, as well as getting the foil version of the donor card. So, yes, Sean, you on Beggar, that would seem to be appropriate. So, all right. And of course, we had the poll that I want to make sure that you guys saw and take advantage of, making sure that you vote in that, participate in the discussion as well, and be sure to share your thoughts and feelings. We may be doing another poll in the near future related to the time limit as well. So keep an eye open for that. But, Scheduling seems to be the bigger hot button issue right now, and certainly there was a slight decline in the number of people playing games this month, as pointed out in some of the stats that people posted, and we just want to, you know, see how the public feels about this before we decide whether or not we need to make any adjustments to it. All right, so we got the registration info here for the Match Play Championship, which you got about 4 hours or so to go. I already talked about, of course, renewing your Twitch subscriptions. We should be in about the 6th month of that as well. Actually, I did want to talk about that. I think that's in the announcements form. Yes, Twitch subscription incentive. So you're probably going to be, well, right now we're coming up on 3 months should have been achieved by now. That would be the red poker chip and the Grand Inquisitor full foil slip. And then working towards that 6-month goal where people will start to be earning the Ezra Bridger foil coming up soon. So obviously you want to make sure you get that. And then at 12 months you get a foil map objective and the exclusive orange Twitch poker chip, which I don't know that I have seen yet. So it might be in that box that Scott gave me that I just haven't dug through yet. But here's all the information about how to do it. Can be found right here. Go to this little forum here. There's step-by-step guide for if you have Amazon Prime, which a lot of people do because there's some good shows on there and free streaming movies and things like that. Plus you get all the free shipping benefits through Amazon if you buy stuff on there. So you get a Twitch subscription to give away each month for free. You just have to link your 2 accounts together. So here's the steps for how to do that. And then you link your account, and then you get your channel subscription, and then you just hit, bam, subscribe for free. If you don't have that, option number 2 is right there, which is subscribe now, where you pay $4.99 a month, and you can subscribe to the PC, and we'll happily accept your $5 donation to us. And then you can still earn the prizes and things like that. I know there's a few countries in Europe that don't do, Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime. Hey, Werfs, thanks for following us. And thanks for joining the show. So you can pay the $5 and or whatever the European equivalency rate is, and then that would continue to get your subscription as well. The Twitch Prime subscriptions you have to manually review each month. Renew. I said review. It should be renew. And there's ways to easily do that. If you have the paid subscription, you can set it up recurring, where it will just automatically bill you each month, and then you don't have to worry about renewing anything. So. But that'll cost you, like I said, the $5 out of pocket. The other one you're getting for free, an Amazon Prime subscription costs about $100 a year, $120. So if you were going to do this option, that'll cost you $60 for the year. If you have the other 60 and are interested in the other benefits of having Amazon Prime, you could just pay the $120 for the Amazon Prime account and, save half of it. Basically, you're getting half of it for free. Because you were going to spend half the money anyway subscribing to the Players Committee channel. So all of those details are there. We talked about some of the poker chips and things that you will get. We've shown those on previous shows. So, there's a new OCS game going on. Looks like Manchanka popped out of the Twitch chat to go play this matchup. So we'll pop in for a minute here before we look at our game review that I've got queued up. Thank you very much, Chris Kelly. I'm glad you enjoyed the interview. And yes, there were that first venue that we held the MPC at. That was an interesting place. I don't even know if it's still there. It'll be interesting to see 12 years later, like how's it going, if it's even still in business. So, but we'll talk about this matchup here. Traditional Huntdown Throne Room matchup. Probably not going to be the most exciting game in the world, so we're not going to stay with this one for long, as there's likely to only be 1 or possibly 2 battlegrounds. Manchanka made the classic mistake that most people make. They see this Vane and they're like, I'm going to go kick his ass. And they send their undercover spy, or their spy, Jin, or Cornhorn, or whatever, and they send EPP OB for backup to really hit him and make him lose force and completely overflow him. And they forget the flip side of the Huntdown objective, which says, opponent cannot initiate battle or force drains where opponent has a Jedi or Skywalker. And they are on this side because Vader is at a battleground and light side does not have any Jedi at a battleground. So the only way to flip this back would be to put a Jedi at a battleground. Throne Room typically only runs 2 to 3 Jedi, so unless he's going to spend this remaining 7 Force deploying Luke to the only battleground on the table, or EPP Qui-Gon, which are probably the only Jedi that you see in most Throne Room decks, he's not going to be able to initiate battle here. In which case, this is going to be a big waste of time, and Vane is just going to move away on his turn, and Visage will be canceled then. I guess the other option would be is he could deploy somebody else there to back Vane up, or just be like, oh, I guess I'll just have to hope that Obi's stuck there. He's not playing neighboring, right? Because these are all interior sites. So you could actually just sit there in front of him forever blocking a force drain because he can't battle you. So that was a big mistake, and I don't know if Munchenka has realized it yet and is trying to figure out what else he can do with his turn. The risk is the longer you leave him here, the longer you run into the chances of that they just throw Luke down in front of Vader, flip the objective, and then battle here and kick the crap out of Vane and cause a lot of overflow. The other possibility, of course, is that he just moves Obi over to here, and then he's got Jin and Lando still in front of him. But this is not going to work out quite as dramatically as he had hoped. Now he's just realizing he went to his battle phase and it won't let him battle there, and he is not sure why. So yeah, I think a lot of us have done that move at least once or twice when playing against Huntdown. Sometimes you forget about that first part. With that, I've seen plenty of people, Vader sitting over here by himself, and you're like, I'm going to go kick his ass. And you deploy Padme and Anakin, and you're like, we're going to go mess him up. And then you try and battle, and it's like, oh, right, Anakin's a Skywalker and not a Jedi, and I can't do anything. Oh, no, I can't do anything. Oh, no, why are you doing that? So I think a lot of us have made that mistake over the years. And sometimes your opponents are nice enough to let you revert and take some of that stuff back. And sometimes they are not, depending on the level and of the tournament and what's at stake here. If this was a casual, fun game, I could see most players would probably like, dude, just revert, take Obi back, and let's just play this out the way it's supposed to be played out. In an OCS qualifier game, a little bit higher stakes here, and I could see a lot of people not being as casual with the rules about that, and not wanting the revert. And you saw Munchenko didn't even ask about it. He realized it was his mistake for not realizing the cards on the table, and it's not up to his opponent to let him off the hook for making a misplay there. So kudos to him for just playing it out. He made the mistake. That's how you learn. You make that mistake once, maybe twice, and then you should never make it again because you're like, God, how many games have I lost because of this stupid flip side of the Huntdown objective? So like I said, you do that once or twice, and then you should never do that again. Yeah, Leia's a good one too for that, especially General Leia Organa. People like to throw her down and things like that too, and then it's like, oh, wait a second. Yep, Leia's a Skywalker. Leia can't battle or force drain. Old allies like to do that sometimes too. You put Leia down at like the 2-2, and they're like, oh yeah, she's useless. But now we're looking at Visage is going to keep pinging. He didn't move Obi away. He drew a card instead. That would have been his other way out. Would have been he could have moved Obi over here to the 2-0, or and left these two, then paid upkeep. And then it's like you've got these two ready to beat up Vane, or he can move over in front of Obi, where Obi can't battle him, but then Visage gets canceled. So maybe we'll see him do that on the following turn. But the other likely option would be is that he's just going to deploy Luke and flip the objective back. He'll make finding Luke a bigger priority, and the question would then be as to where to put him, whether he's got a battle planes or another site. The sometimes Thornham's now playing the Cloud City lower corridor, which is the 1-2 location that guys with lightsabers are power +2 at. It's an interior location, no vehicles. It's a Cloud City mobile location, so no Image of the Dark Lord. It's also a Cloud City adjacent site, so getting to the 2-0 prison, which a lot of dark side decks play, you can deploy guys and then move them into the prison to get possible extra drain off at if you can satisfy the 2 battlegrounds to get around Coward. He's just going to take the easy way out and just move on away and just let the Visage be cancelled rather than risk the Luke beatdown and possibly having to waste a Gick, or he may not even have the Gick in hand right now. So it's a safe conservative play by Mr. Shaw there, and the one that I would recommend to everybody. The longer you leave him sitting there in front of these, the greater the chances are that he's going to get his ass kicked. And we also see Count Dooku showing up for backup. Getting a second character down, especially one like Dooku with Vader, is also a strong move. Reinforced, solidify your hold on the battleground you have. Lightside's already committed several key characters to this non-battleground site. With Coward out, which he hasn't pulled the shield just yet, I would expect him to pull it any minute now. Otherwise, he could get drained for 2 at this site. That would be bad. But he should pull the Coward shield here because he occupies a battleground and his opponent does not occupy 2. So therefore the force drains at the non-battleground would be cancelled. But it looks like he did not do that. So maybe he either forgot, a likely scenario, or he's okay with battle plan being out and his opponent paying 3 force to drain for 2 here, because that's less cards than he has to spend to deploy Luke and friends with. Occasionally, you will see people, you could cancel that drain, but sometimes you'd rather them spend the force, because it means that there's less things they can do. If they pay 3 to drain here, that leaves them with 9. If it costs 6 to deploy Luke, well, then he's only got 3 left. And if he has to pay 1 to battle, that would cut him down to only 2, possibly 3 if you put a card from hand back with Like My Father, but that still only leaves him with 2 or 3 force, which is not a second character that he's likely to be able to squeeze out with them. And lone Luke by himself isn't really that scary. If he doesn't drain, and he's got 12 force, well then that could be Luke and Padme. Cancel Vader's game text, add a destiny to attrition, swing and hit one of them, and then, between battle destiny and attrition destiny, clear the second one. So that would be why you would see players sometimes, not pull a Coward shield when battle plan is out, because you want your opponent to commit the resources. Oh, that's true too. You also can't force drain because of Obi. Duh. We just got done talking about that. You can't battle or force drain. But hypothetically speaking, if Obi wasn't there, you still almost want them to spend the force. And right on cue, there is Luke Skywalker with lightsaber. Alright, hang on. We need some sugar. We're slacking off here. Tonight's beverage is compliments of Chick-fil-A. Home of delicious chicken sandwiches and amazing sweet tea. And as we mentioned, there is the Leia Padme combo. So yeah, I'm sure he would have preferred him to pay for that force drain if he could actually drain there. We get that. But now we're going to see what happens here. Dooku's going to go for the force lightning, And now we're going to see what other interrupts might be possibly floating around. He did save 2 force as well. So we could see a possible force push here, which would be interesting. Like, Vader swings, he force lightning used on Luke to lower his defense value. Vader swings and hits Luke. Then he spends the 2 force he has to use force push to exclude Vader and Luke from the battle. Luke dies because he's already been hit, and then it's Dooku against Padme. Vader's safe and protected. Dooku dies. Padme dies. And then Vader comes back, and Vader's the only one left at the site. The objective flips again. He's stuck not draining again. Everyone just assumes that you use force push for the dig cards out of your force pile text. But that is not always the best way to use that card. Sometimes using it the other way to exclude guys can also be very damaging. Having I Have You Now as well would also, playing that first sequence of events, you add the 2 Battle Destiny now, and then exclude him. He could have a You Are Beaten as well and just clash Luke or something out of the battle. But we're going to get some lightsaber swings here. See if we got a force field or a blaster deflection on either side. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, I feel like a horse's ass. I just got done doing a 5-minute explanation about why you can't drain on, or battle on the flip side, and you can't drain either. So, all right. So Dooku's hit. Oh, and sorry about the mess. Gonna take Dooku out of the battle. Before he gets to play the Force Lightning. And he top decks of Resilience, which is a Destiny 6. So some pretty good tricks by Munchenka, and some pretty good character draws too early. If this game could really be going his way, if not for that tiny little misstep earlier. And now we'll see if Darkseid has any tricks left up their sleeve. Overseeing it personally. Oof. That's not a card you see very often. It's a very well designed card, though. I will have to admit that, though. It's a very well designed card. Very well. Nope, looks like we're just going to draw a bunch of destinies, and everybody's probably going to die. Vader has no immunity because of Padme. Luke's only immune to less than 6 because he's with somebody else. And that'll be enough to clear him out. So, looks like this will be a clear on both sides. 10, 14, 20 to 17. No overflow for either player. The other possible reason to pull the Coward Shield may have been to stop him from getting Luke's lightsaber back. But that also won't work anymore because he'll no longer be at a battleground. So, because Vader's going to die too. So, yeah, no way to stop that. He could secret plans, at least make him spend his last force on it, and then he wouldn't be able to pay upkeep on Lando. But we're going to pop back to the lobby for a minute because we kind of know. We've seen this matchup more than a few times. And we'll check back on this one in a little bit. But I do want to get into our game review of the week. This one was provided to me by Tardis, a Irish player, a UK player, and we don't often get to see my kind of scum. So I was excited to see a different deck being featured here. He's playing against Steve Buscemi, not the actor. That's not his real name. He's just a big fan. Greedo was the rep. This deck can certainly be very powerful when it gets going in terms of the total power it can generate off of my kind of scum, and it'll be taking on lightsaber combat. So an interesting deck because Darkseid will have no Jedi to go combat with, but they will have lots of guys to go fight with. So the my kind of scum objective, you start these two sites, and it's the Desert Heart and any Jabba's Palace site. You always pick Jabba's Palace because that lets you get the other Jabba's Palace sites. You reveal a unique alien whose lore is in his species. Most people pick Greedo, who's a Rhodian. That is your rep. Some people will also play. Occasionally you see Pote Snitkin, who is a Skrilling, or Mayo, who is an Abyssin. Those are the three most common that you'll see, but for the most part, it's Greedo and Rhodians. Their deploy forfeit and stuff like that is pretty good. Pote and Skrillings isn't bad either, because Skrillings are Destiny 4, so having them floating through your deck gives you lots of decent Destiny cards to shoot and hit people with EPP weapons and things like that. Excuse me. So that for remainder of game, the rep is a leader, which is also critical because your rep with leader has implications with Jabba. You can't play inserts, some other stuff here, and then you flip if you have two battleground sites. You'll need a third in most games because there's always a non-Tatooine location on table, even if it's just a 2-0 for Force Generation. But the flip side of the objective does some goofy stuff. Once per turn, cancel a Force Drain or adjust drawn battle destiny by placing a copy of your rep on the effect. So you stack a copy of your rep, you can cancel a Force Drain, or you can cancel a battle destiny. Most often when it's used for is to cancel the battle destinies, unless it happens to be a really big drain. You know, they got two guys with the lightsabers or proficiency or something sitting here and they're going to drain you for 4 or 5. That may be worth a drain to cancel. Each of your control phases, retrieve non-unique alien of your rep species. So you're going to play 2 or 3 copies of non-unique aliens because you're going to need one to flip anyway, and you do want to make sure you find them. And then here's the kicker for it. While Jabba and Bib on table, your battle destiny draws are each +2. So again, we talked before about those Skrillings being Destiny 4. If you had a way to draw 2 or 3 of them in a battle together, say like Boba Fett Bounty Hunter and somebody else, now you draw a couple of pile of 6s, or those 4s become 6s. They can really be really massive power swings and big battle destiny draws and things like that. This part almost never comes into play where they're forfeit +2. But for remainder of game, your rep may deploy here as if from hand. So they're not stuck here on the objective. You can play them off there, much like strategic reserves and things like that. So that is how that objective works. And we have featured light side combat before, recently on the show within the last month or so, and showcase some of the tricks that this deck likes to run. Usually it's a couple of some high destiny interrupts and R2s and red 5s, or just high destiny interrupts 5s and 6s, usually 6s. Because you do want to make sure you get to like 12, 13 pretty easily with your total to make sure that you do win the combats. In this game, obviously, that will not be important, as Darkseid should have no one to combat. Didn't really do a whole lot turn 1. They just, pulled a sight and kind of said go. Drew a few cards. And we'll get to see General Kenobi, another recent V card character, who I believe is the guy we showed who's in the League kits. He's on the T-shirt this go round. Yes, he is on the T-shirt in the League kit. I still have to look into getting Nate a shirt because Nate did design that card. But Kenobi, once per game, he can upload a clone or a Reflections icon lightsaber, so he can get his Episode 1 lightsaber or Qui-Gon's Destiny 5 lightsaber, which he can also use, or you can get a clone. In this case, he's going to choose to get Rex, who's a pretty solid clone because he adds a Destiny when he is at an Episode 1 battleground site, makes sure other clones deploy cheaper, and he can actually shoot people as well. And when Kenobi is alone or with a clone, you can activate a force or add one to a just drawn Destiny, thus making it easier for you to either win combats or shoot people with your clone. We talked about the bug forum earlier. Malastare is currently listed in that bug forum as well. The text here says if you've won a pod race, force drain +1, or if you have lost a pod race, you can't draw more than one battle destiny here. The game currently, GEMP does not track once the pod race has ended who the winner and loser was. It doesn't keep that score anywhere. So they still have to program that in. So the benefits of both sides of the game text, winning and losing, don't work right now. Which is another unfortunate bug because of Jedi business. Malastare seeing a lot of play. Pod racing was not a very popular feature previously, so this was kind of a low priority, and they never got around to working on that. Now with Jedi business pulling it, either that Mos Espa or the Coruscant nightclub, you can get. It is moved its way up the priority list a little bit. The other thing too, if you're not familiar entirely with Twitch, you can buy bits, which I don't recommend you do because you're spending real money to get the equivalent of pennies. But you can watch ads every once in a while. They're 30-second little ads, and afterwards Twitch will give you free bits, and then you can donate them the way I just did there. You can cheer for your favorite broadcasters and donate the bits to their channel, which helps support them a little bit as well financially, and is always appreciated. It's like a tip for good service kind of thing. So, all right, so we got Jabba and Bib on the table already. Between Power of the Hutt, that's not hard to do. Jabba, Scum, nice and cheap. This is the Bib who's power +3 with Jabba, which then Jabba then doubles from 6 to 12. So having 15 power right there, and this is a quick way to cause some overflow on people if they want to come into your audience chamber. He did that slightly backwards though. I guess he wasn't sure what was in his... Nope. He had Jabba in hand. He pulled Bib... He pulled Bib with Power of the Hutt. Okay, because Power of the Hutt lets you deploy a handful of guys. Okay, so he guess he wasn't sure if Jabba and Scum was in there, since this deck doesn't have ways to look for stuff the way that Court does, because it doesn't have the docking bays and stuff. And he missed Nal Hutta turn 1. Normally you would use Nal Hutta and just take a peek. So I guess he had to do this a little backwards, a little improvisation. So he went and got somebody first with Power of the Hutt, found Bib, then deployed Jabba and pulled Scum, and then is adding Effant Mon for backup, Fantman being the guy who forfeits and soaks up all the battle damage and attrition against you. Also happens to be power +2, making him power 4, which Jabba can double up to 8, which is pretty decent as well. And he is a leader, which Jabba says, well, with your alien leader, he's immune to attrition and can't be targeted by interrupts or weapons. This includes your own interrupts, so you can't use Ellis Hellrot on Jabba to move him if he's part of a group. If you want to Ellis everybody over, because if Fantman is there, Jabba can't be included in the Ellis. You can move everybody else, just not Jabba. Alright, so he's got a pretty strong setup there in the audience chamber. It'd be very unlikely that we see light side contest that. Well, that's the other thing on the flip side of the objective. Wounded Wookiee is Destiny +3. So the Abyss and Ornament Wounded Wookiee combo card, which is normally a Destiny 2, becomes a Destiny 5. This is the one that takes non-unique aliens into hand, or if your non-unique alien is in a battle, you can cancel the game text of a rebel, or if opponent just drew more than 2 battle destiny, you can cancel all but 2 of them, your choice. So if they happen to find a way to draw 3 or 4 destiny against you, you can pick the worst 2 and make them keep those and cancel the good ones, potentially. But mostly this is just used for getting the non-unique copies of your guy into hand that you need to flip, and because it becomes a Destiny 5 on the flip side of your objective, it's not really holding you back. Battle order is out. He will pay to drain. He's got good force activation and not much in his hand right now. He's just going to get the Qui-Gon's lightsaber, which can go on Qui-Gon or Episode 1 Obi. We also see a Mace's lightsaber floating around in there. He's got squadron assignments here, so he's going to match the Falcon from hand and get Solo. And because of the fear of the possible, Zuckuss the Mist Hunter, Bounty Hunter ships, he will add Rey as an additional pilot to get himself above the 6 ability requirement. You need 7 ability or more to get around Zuckuss, so he'll go ahead and do that. But we do get a quick verify. We don't really see any ships in hand, but with 20 force active, and there's Buelo. So Buelo, for those not familiar, because this is probably the only deck you'll see him in, deploys only on Tatooine or to same location as Jabba when in battle, either at the audience chamber or with your alien leader, like your rep, like Fantman, like Chal Bakan, like the Prince. Those are the most common leaders that you'll see, that alien leaders that you'll see being used in these types of decks. Although I think the new Thrawn is a leader, and he's an alien, so that's going to be another combo. You can cancel one opponent's battle destiny just drawn. So canceling a battle destiny, stacking a rep, canceling a battle destiny. Certainly have some options here if light side is not running evac control. You have multiple ways to cancel destinies and things. And he occupies 3 battlegrounds now, including one with the non-unique alien of his rep's species. So that will flip his objective. And now we're going to see the ships come out, which he already had a few of in hand. Ooh, more cards you don't see often. So we got Dengar and Punishing One. Very strong, solid, independent starship here. When in battle, adds 1 to total battle destiny for each of their ships present, and he cancels their immunity to attrition here. It's effectively known as the Home 1 killer because most people like to bank on the fact that Home 1's immune to less than 10 with Akbar aboard, so it's Home 1, Akbar, 12 power, 2 destiny, immune to less than 10, very difficult to deal with until Dengar shows up and says, now it's not immune to any attrition at all, and you're going to lose Akbar, and now you're only going to get 1 destiny and be immune to less than 8, and yeah. And the other combo we've got here, we've got Ellis and Hinthra, which we see fairly often, but Hondo's not a guy we see piloting a lot. Once per game, you can get Aura Sing, Slave 1, or a Kowakian. I think the only Kowakian is a Salacious Crumb. Fun species that we don't get to see, or card we don't get to ever really see play much, Salacious Crumb. But he draws one of an anvil to otherwise. Decent stats for power forfeit, deploy forfeit. And now we'll see Aim High come out because of Scum. It's probably more likely just going to be forfeit fodder, but, oh, hey, Boba Fett. Where? Right there. Boba Fett. Adds Destiny with your Alien or Imperial. 2 if with your Bounty Hunter or Vader. A Hundo, not a Bounty Hunter. He is another Alien leader, though. So now they're adding a Battle Destiny. So now they've got 2 Battle Destiny total, plus adding 1 to the total. And they're really just trying to beat 7 to make sure they get both characters, which seems pretty likely. However, Lightside is going to get extra Battle Destiny because Solo is the one who adds with Chewie or Rey. Oof. That is Ascension Guns, another virtual card. Usually we see it in things like WAP, using the X-Force to move guys around to the throne room. I'm very fond of the other text on this card, especially in combat, because if opponent occupies your location, which they often do in combat because they come to your sites to try and kill your Jedi, peek at the top 2 cards of your reserve deck, take 1 into hand. You put the other card back on top of your reserve deck, so therefore you know what destiny you're going to draw. Usually you'll use this. You'll know the 3rd card in your reserve deck. You'll leave 2 on top of it. You'll peek. You'll take the lowest destiny one, put the other one back, and now you know the 2 destiny you're going to draw for combat. So it's a good card for combat. I like seeing its inclusion. But it also happens to work when they come battle at you at your system and things like that. Unfortunately, as we saw, both cards were both 1s. He had Luke and Ahsoka, so he's going to draw a 1 for Battle Destiny, and his other option would be, if he can find a way to shuffle his deck, like maybe play this Wisa or something like that, to shuffle his deck to get that 1 off the top. Now might be a good time to do that. Hey, it's like he heard me. So shuffle that around, try and get some better Destiny draws, try and clear some more of Darkseid's stuff. But again, he's drawing 2 Battle Destiny here, and each draw is +2. So that's a 7. And with Dengar adding 1 to the total, that's already going to get rid of both pilots. So that's a good draw. And that's just a 1. Does he have a Sith Fury for that? Well, it's a 3, but... So he's got 10 plus 1 from Dengar makes 11 total. And it wasn't all that hard to piece together. Wow. He got gemped. So we affectionately refer to when you shuffle your reserve deck with Gemp and the card that was on top remains on top. It's like, he's got 35 cards in his reserve deck. What are the possibilities of that happening? It's another little... It doesn't happen often, but when it does, you're a little perturbed at just how that came to be. So he'll go ahead and Steve will go ahead and forfeit. Kuhn will go ahead and forfeit Boba Fett rather than pay his upkeep. He doesn't want Boba Fett on the table. He wants to recycle Boba Fett back into his deck and retrieve him and redeploy him again somewhere else to battle and do some damage. But good setup here now for Darkseid. They've got 3 battlegrounds. Their opponent has a very slim hand. They've got battle plans satisfied. You'll possibly see sometimes they play Galid in this deck, who adds 1 to their force trains at Jabba's Palace locations. So, but they do have quite a few more cards on the table than Lightside does. And we're going to see him match the Luke for one of the R2 and Red 5s. And that will possibly go over here to Nal Hutta and get away from these ships. Now Lightside will satisfy battle plan, which is pretty solid, pretty good for them. They don't have to pay to drain here on the ground anymore. And they're going to spend the force and put Ray down as well. Putting Ray at the 3-2 site. Almost all the characters in this deck, if hit, would go to the used pile because of the text on this site here. So having a guy with a weapon over here is pretty strong in this particular matchup. We saw Mara Jade with lightsaber. She would not, but other than that, there's probably nobody else in this deck that that wouldn't end up in the use pile. Maybe there's something silly like an EPP Maul floating around in there, because while Maul suspends Scum while he's on the table, he doesn't suspend the objective, so you still get the +2 to each, and a Maul swinging and hitting people, and then drawing a Battle Destiny that's +2 could really clear out a number of things. Wouldn't be unheard of for there to be one copy floating around in there. But in the meantime, they'll drain for 3 because Ellison Hinthra adds a light side icon while at opponent's system. So that's a drain of 3 at Malastare, and then these are 1 and 1. And in case you're wondering how Buelo got over here, he used the game text on the lower passages. So during your move phase, aliens may move between here and any Jabba's Palace site. Okay. And we're going to see a whole bunch of characters come down again for Darkseid. Well, first off, we're going to pause for a second because we got another card in play that we don't see often. Jabba Space Cruiser. This is the V10 version, which may add 1 alien pilot and a whole bunch of passengers. When deployed, you may download an alien leader aboard for free, and it's immune to attrition less than 5. Alien leader aboard, again, handful of guys that you could get. Like we said, Hondo, particularly Jabba, the Prince, your rep, all kinds of people that you could possibly get. But it is just another good splashable ship that's got decent power and stats and some token immunity as well. We'll get the battle here on the ground. Django's adding a Battle Destiny because it's with opponent's permanent weapon card. It's Jedi, Maintenance, or EPP. Forlom is going to cancel her game text, so she can't swing and hit anybody and send them used. And Zam is just here for poops and giggles. To probably be the card that ends up getting forfeited. Although, potentially could cancel a Battle Destiny if he has a copy of Greedo in hand. Blaster deflection. Blaster deflection cancels the weapon targeting, including Forlom, because even though Forlom's gun doesn't fire per se, because you don't draw any destinies or anything for it, it is still being targeted, which is what Blaster deflection will cancel. So this is all going to go completely sideways because Darkseid just went from 10 and 2 Battle Destiny all the way down to 6 and no Battle Destiny because Zam only draws if unable to otherwise. I'm sorry, only draws if unable to otherwise if she's alone. So Zam's not alone, so Zam's not doing anything here against Ray. He did have the Greedo to cancel the Battle Destiny, so this would have been a pretty big swing if he could have drawn 2 Destiny. It was already 10 to 5. We'll do the math real quick because this is fun. So it was 10 to 5. He cancels the Destiny, so it stays 10 to 5. He draws 2 Destiny, and they're each +2, so he's already at 14 plus whatever is actually on the cards. Worst case scenario, they're 2 1s, and he gets to 16 total. 16 to raise 5. She'd be down by 11. She forfeits for 7. It'd be her and 4, and Darkseid would lose nothing because of the objective canceling the text. So Puts a lot of cards on the table, but as we've talked about, can really generate some power and some big swingy battles very quickly and unexpectedly. And now Kuhn will just shuffle around. His ships and stuff and move 4 Lam away. That way Zam is now back to being alone, so Zam gets to draw a destiny. The other cool thing about picking Greedo as your rep is Greedo deploys as a react for 1 force because of Scum. So if you happen to need Greedo somewhere, you can deploy Greedo as a react, get some extra power and forfeit. Yes, Zam was a very minor character in the beginning of a very minor movie called Attack of the Clones that well, we'll just say it. It wasn't very good. I don't think I've heard too many people argue against that one. You know, people say episode 7 or episode 8, some love it, some hate it. Nobody's ever in the middle. It's either one polar opposite or the other. When you talk about like Attack of the Clones, I very rarely hear people say like, "Oh, that movie was awesome." Usually it's like, yeah, that one sucked." All right. Ray's going to clear Zam off the table here, send Zam to the used pile, which isn't the worst thing that could happen for Darkseid here. Wow, 2 7s. Um, Not the worst thing in the world to happen for Darkseid here, because it means they're not taking any overflow in the battle, and it just, kind of saves them the trouble. Usually they want to battle, retrieve their guys with Scum, and then get them back in their deck and then redeploy them. By them getting hit and going used here, saves them a step. They don't have to pay the 2 force to retrieve them and then find them later. They'll just find them again a little sooner. Now we got Lando on the Falcon, and the Falcon's going to move over and pay upkeep. All right, so he's going to block the space drain. It's a pretty solid little space fleet there that Tardis has going. You've got Luke, the Rebellion's Hope, who adds a destiny to power or attrition when he's piloting Red 5. You've got Lando, Scoundrel, who adds a battle destiny, and if they battle him, he retrieves a force and adds its destiny number to his own power or the Falcon he is piloting, which he's currently piloting a Falcon. So, 2 battle destiny, possibly a destiny to power or attrition, and then retrieving a card from your lost pile and adding its power to the ship. This may not be a strong place that Darkseid wants to battle here. Woof will help a little bit as he subtracts 1 from each draw. But still. Oh, and there's Galed. And Kuhn is just going to go ahead and draw some cards here and reload his hand. Certainly doesn't want to battle into that Falcon and give them the extra 6 power from that Jedi's Resilience that's sitting on top there. And with only a few cards in his lost pile, not probably a lot that he wants to retrieve right now, that he needs to force a battle here to get Scum retrieval. He can instead take his time, reload his hand wisely, as he knows his opponent has a pretty soft hand as well with only 4 cards. There's probably not a whole lot that he can do. He's going to eat some crown drains, though. And we get another look at another V10 card, Uta Guta. Used cancels neighboring. That's a good feature of it. But lost is what a lot of people also use it for, is the during your move phase, break cover and undercover spy. So it's got 2 strong uses right there. And then it has a third use, which is very deck specific. Use a force to upload a Rodian. Get you any Rodian, like your Greedo, who's your leader, or a non-unique alien of your rep's species. In this case, they picked Rhodian, but if they picked something else, it could get you at least a non-unique copy as a used 5. And in this case, it is going to grab another copy of Greedo. Could be used to cancel the Force Drain or cancel some Battle Destiny. He is going to cancel the Force Drain. He can only cancel the one here at... Well, he can cancel either of these two. You can't cancel drains on Naboo where Lightside has a Jedi because of the objective. So they'll cancel... You can't cancel Kenobi's drain. They could cancel the one with Rey or the one with Qui-Gon. And he will cancel one of those. So now he's only going to have to lose 4 Force. We see Probot, Force Push, Zuckuss, Boba Fett, Bounty Hunter. So both sides have a couple of pretty decent ground drains going. But winning in space may be the kicker here. And Lightside's just going to back up with Anakin and the Azure Angel. Anakin adding 1 to each of your Destiny draws, so he offsets Woof's -1. And then the ship here, Anakin aboard, lose a Force to cancel a non-immune to sense interrupt during battle. So if they played an interrupt during battle that wasn't immune to sense, you might be able to cancel it. It comes in handy for things like Imperial Command, if you're trying to cancel stuff like that, or Short Range Fighters combo. In this particular space matchup, I don't know that there's a whole lot going on that that Darkseid would be using. Tardis is going to track back one of his 7s here that he just lost from hand with using his Walkling. It's a wise play. Put it near the bottom where you can then track it around and draw it for Battle Destiny. Well, if there is Seder, I've yet to meet that person. So maybe they're watching right now and they're watching this and they're like getting, throwing stuff around the room. Like, how could he say that about Attack of the Clones? Oh, 5/4 in the reserve deck. Okay. Which, if he were to battle, 5/4. And First Strike. Okay. First Strike just doing more damage and retrieval. Well, the 4 would miss Rey. The 5 would be pretty good, though. Greedo's going to suicide himself into Qui-Gon. Causes 1 force loss from First Strike and 1 retrieval. And 2 additional retrieval available with Scum. So he'll retrieve back the Boba Fett and the Zuckuss. Wasn't sure he'd want to get Zuckuss back. I figured he was for taking the 1 retrieval with Boba Fett from the First Strike. Oof, Lightside draws another 7. That's going to put Greedo down by 10. I guess we're going to see a Gick coming up here. Yep. And then I'm sure we'll see P-59 battle Rey. And he'll get some more retrieval here. Oh, he's going to retrieve the Gick. And he could pay 2 and retrieve with the Scum as well. He wouldn't be able to move anybody or draw any cards, but I don't know that necessarily needs to do that or worry about that. Yep, he'll get Greedo in the Force pushback. So even though these battles are not doing the most in terms of clearing out locations and whatnot, he is getting some good force differential out of it. He's caused his opponent to lose 2 force, and he's retrieved 5 cards, which are basically the cards that he spent from his hand. And light side draws just enough. Dark time, subtract 1. Nope. So just enough to hit P59 and send him used as well. Gets dark side out of the battle. So they don't have to worry about taking any battle damage or overflow here. And again, successfully did a hit and run. First strike, Scum and Villainy ping. And all those extra cards that just got retrieved are very likely to be cards that we see coming off the top of the deck here in a minute from these drains with Rey and Qui-Gon and Kenobi. So he retrieved 5 cards, played a couple from hand to do it, and now he's going to peel 6. So he mitigated a lot of the damage the previous turn. But light side's advantage, of course, is the fewer number of cards they have in play. Alright. Oof. There's that Mace Windu that I don't know if he's setting up 2 battles here. Because he should have known those cards were there. And a little further down is that 7. Here's the extra destiny to attrition. Okay. Yeah, I'm saying he retrieved with Walkling a 7 before, which is actually 2 more cards down. I figured he would have activated a little bit more and gotten closer to that to try and clear out as much of this ships and pilot combos as he could. Dark side with their 10 attrition pitches just enough there with Hondo and Space Cruiser. Light side has to lose Lando, but still in a good position here where they've got the Falcon for extra forfeit and another copy of Lando in his hand. And then, Luke, Anakin to still do stuff with. Yeah, Darkseid wins this game. Usually not through its force draining, although 2 and 2 does certainly help. Usually it's through battle damage and just overall attrition. You kill enough of their characters and keep looping yours around. It's kind of the way Scum has always worked, whether it's Court or My Kind of Scum. My Kind of Scum just has a different pile of tricks to it, and it's always fun to see a different deck being played in the environment. This was a GEMP PC matchup between these 2 players. So certainly going to be a fairly close game. That certainly would make game 2 of their series a little bit closer. And here comes another big battle. And there's the extra Greedo coming off the stack. Django's going to add another Battle Destiny because he's with the Jedi. Chow makes all your aliens. We mentioned him earlier as one of your strong leaders. Chow Beacon, you can take a copy of a non-unique into hand, but more importantly, aliens deploy -1 to same or adjacent Tatooine sites. So if you stick him in the middle here, he covers all the sites, but in this particular case, you just deploy him wherever you need him. So Chow makes these guys all deploy 1 cheaper, letting you squeeze maybe an extra guy out. So Django was 2, Greedo was free, Dr. E was 2. We got 15 power, 2 battle destiny. The 2 destiny are plus 2 each, so it's already 19 to 6. So light side certainly gonna take some overflow in this battle, and as we can see in their hand, no Gick. And they can't even use Ascension Guns to set up their draws. Meanwhile, light side's or dark side's just going to throw away this Greedo here probably, or possibly Dr. E or somebody. 6 and a 7, 13 gives them 28 with four of the, you know, most, or several of the most indiscriminate characters in the game. Okay, he does get the 7. Does he have another Greedo to cancel it? No, he does not, but that's still going to be pretty strong because Qui-Gon only covers 9, and he's down by 15, so he's going to peel Qui-Gon and 6. Darkseid will just lose the 2 characters that do the least for them, which in this case is Chal and Greedo. And after peeling 6 cards, we'll see just exactly what they've got left in terms of Force and Destiny. And it's possible we see him spend these last 2 Force to move these 2 ships away, which I think I would at this point. Yeah, get them out of dodge. Because now you've got 3 drains of 2 on the ground to their 2 drains of 2 on the ground. So I'd go ahead and move away. Give yourself an opportunity here to, grind out the game. You're slightly ahead on terms of life force totals. If they have another character in hand or whatnot to deploy aboard the Falcon, they can do that, and then they've got to move their ships over to you, which point you can, they're doing 5 to your 6, and you're slightly ahead. So it would be up to them to find a different way to do something else. Of course, the other thing I do want to point out too, as we've seen earlier, Rey being at this site. Oh, he he finally used the objective and killed Forlom. We'll talk about that in a second because the shield is not out, which is, I guess, would have been a fairly important play. But you'll see Rey's text here says that when she hits target hit, forfeit 0, you may retrieve 1 force. The text on the site says any character about to be hit are instead placed in owner's used pile. So the Destiny would make them hit before they are actually hit, triggering Rey's 1 retrieval. They go used. That's why their forfeit doesn't get reset to 0. They're not considered hit. P59, had he shot someone, they would not be considered hit to cause his 2 force loss. Same thing with like Kylo, who's the inverse of Rey. But the will handle this objective has this other little: once during your control phase, target an opponent's character present with your Jedi at an interior themed palace site. Target is lost. There is a shield that basically says that can only target spies, I believe, and 5d6, something like that. That's what the dark side. I forget exactly the way the wording is. It limits the number of who you can, zap with the finger of death there. But shield's not in play. He's played all 4 shields, so and I'm sure he didn't do this earlier because that would have given him an opportunity to retrieve and redeploy Forlom, and he was happy with him just sitting here doing nothing for a while. So possibly could have just forgot about it. But again, if this is a match play situation and you're getting, force totals kind of low for both players, putting an extra card in their loss pile certainly is never a bad idea. Yep. And now we'll see him shuffle some people over, see if he moves all 3 ships or if he just leaves one behind. Maybe take Luke and Lando. Leave Anakin back. It's very unlikely with the amount of force remaining that he'd be able to deploy and battle much else or do much to Anakin. So this one's going to be a close one. So I can obviously see that this, will keep things close for both players. And as they're both now below or down to 10 cards, or below 10 cards. Kuhn's at 11 total. And Darren is down to 8, and he's going to lose a couple more here to these other drains. non-uniques to retrieve. There's Afra. Afra gets back a droid. Could get that 4-LOM back. That's the other reason to keep 4-LOM on the table, is because of something like Afra. Jabba's Haven also lets you retrieve a guy into hand, or an independent starship. He's going to retrieve a Greedo, which he can use to cancel a Force Drain or a Battle Destiny. And he's going to try P-59 is going to try his luck again. He'll cause the 1 Force loss from first strike. Doesn't have any Force remaining to retrieve with first strike or Scum. But he can take 1 more card off his opponent and speed this along a little bit. Oh, and there's a miss. And Rey's going to swing, which will send him to the use pile again. Unless, of course, he misses. Nope. But no retrieval for light side. And it actually just helps his opponent put another card back in his deck. On the plus side, Rey will get the drain for 2 on the following turn, so he'll lose another card, but he's not going to activate. He'll do his drains. He'll grind him down pretty close to 0. Can probably battle here in space at Malastare to cause a first strike loss. But that's pretty much going to be it, because these drains are here for 6. Would be enough for the game. But if he can clear them out in space, he'd have to at least pay for these drains. So that's what he's going for there. He's got 7, 4, 2. 11, 12, 13 total. Minus 2 from Woof would be 11 possibly. And 11 may not get, depending on how he draws them. Yeah, he may not get everybody here. I think he still will, though. He's still going to end up with 11 pretty much either way. Oh, he's got that Greedo in hand still, so he cancels the second Battle Destiny. There you go. So that gives him a Battle Destiny of 1. He'll draw the 7. That'll give him a total of 8. And Woof and Dengar cover 8. Which is enough to at least keep Ellis there for 1 more turn, so these drains are free. Otherwise, light side would sneak out a narrow win with this game, because dark side would only be able to pay to drain in 1 spot. They would take him down to 2 force, and then light side would then get their drains in the following turn and win the game that way. You could possibly see him suicide Greedo again. Send Greedo into Rey, cause a force loss with first strike or something like that. To take him down an extra card or so, but well, looks like he's trying to maximize his differential here. So other little tricks late in game, ways to maximize your differential. Something special planned for them you can put in your lost pile to retrieve a starship. You give your opponent back the card you have stacked on it, but if he's going to drain for 6, his opponent had less than 6 anyway, so it's just a card he's going to lose. And this way also works out slightly differently now, too, because it gave him a card back, putting him to 3. When he drains for 2, it puts his opponent down to 1. So he still has one card left. So now he can deploy the Greedo against Rey, battle, and have first strike cause the last remaining card loss. I don't think he'll have it. Greedo's going to cost him one to deploy with Scum. Then he'll need one to battle, so he'll pay one with first strike to retrieve one more card, and then cause the final force loss. If he had one or two more force, he could do Scum first, because they're both competing actions. Declare Scum first, retrieve the two with that, then declare the first strike, make your opponent lose the force, and die that way. He shouldn't even have had it. If he didn't leave a Destiny here, he could have done it that way. Don't leave a Destiny, activate everything. Pay one to put Greedo down, leaving him with 3. Pay one to battle, which leaves him with 2. Pay 2 to retrieve 2 with Scum, and then cause the 1 force loss from first strike. He may not have thought about it until the middle of the turn. Um, just one of those things you're not always doing the math until you realize, like, oh, wait a second, I can do this, and that leaves him with 3, and yeah. So, but instead, he'll get at least one more card back to increase his differential by 1 here. Deploy Greedo off the objective. Oh, he's going to battle in space. That works too. Yeah. Same difference. Like I said, I'd pay with Scum and whatnot and do that. I've thought, for some reason I was thinking this was an empty ship, but no, it's not. I really am tired today. That's 2 mistakes this game. This is sloppy. I apologize for the quality of the content in today's stream. So, yep, he'll do it that way. He'll pay 2 to retrieve 2 with Scum, then cause the force loss with first strike. And that will do it. And then he ends up with a differential of 8 instead of something like 4 or 5, which is where he was when he started the turn. So squeezing out those last few cards can certainly mean the difference in a match play scenario. Thank you to Tardis for providing this game link. And congrats to Kuhn on winning the game. I think he also went on to win the match. But again, fun to see my kind of scum and other, there's a lot of good decks out there and a lot of variety that can be played in the environment, and it's fun to showcase some of the other stuff, unlike the Throne Room Huntdown matchup we were checking out earlier that was going on in the lobby. Ooh, I get free card packs for OCS or something. All right, so a couple other OCS games going on here, but we're already over an hour and a half, and I feel like, my quality of my performance today has been a little lacking, and you guys have been a little quiet in chat, so I think we're just going to wrap up tonight's stream here. Wish you guys the best of luck in your April OCS games. I'm sure a lot of you guys will be excited to get started on those. And of course, you've got about 3.5 hours or so left to sign up for the Match Play Championships if you haven't done so already. Hopefully we'll see at least 1 or 2 more of you sign up, and see you guys in New Jersey at the end of the month. And you guys have a great night. We'll see you back here next Monday night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a good night, everybody.